Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
Well, it's my turn. And before I address you, I have to address a person that I really respect who's put up with all this stuff, Moira Ashby. Moira, wherever you are, stand up. There she is. My sister-in-law by work. Moira, I have tried to keep him at work for as long as I can. But I have to hand him over to you now. And I promise I'll visit every week. I do promise that. You have kept him healthy and current and being the guy that he is. And I love the way that you two really work together. So I applaud you, Moira Ashby.
Me too.
I got to tell you, when you're the girl in the group, you got to like the wife and the wife's got to like you. Roger. I have worked with this man for 32 years. And with pleasure. Monday through Friday, we'll say average 5:30 to 9. And I have learned so much, like we all have. Like family, we love each other. Like family, we irritate each other. Like family, we correct each other when we think things are going off track. Do you not agree? Like family, we find joy when great things happen. And like family, we suffer together in loss and sadness. There has been so much that has happened to both of us in the last 32 years.
And you and I have shared it, all of it, yeah.
Every moment. Walking into the room after facing something so sad or so joyful, I always knew that you would be there for me and have my back and be caring about it. And if I wanted to talk about it, you would be there for me. So I thank you for that. You know, everyone, it is our family, friends, and partners that keep us grounded. Roger, you are all three. Thank you so much for the journey that I've had with you and the great adventure. I adore you, Roger.
Well, we know we're going to see each other in the future because
I'm seeing him Friday for dinner.
We're good friends.
And thank you for taking a chance on this girl.
Oh, listen.
Thank you for taking a
Smartest
chance on
move
this
we ever
girl.
made.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's my turn.
All right. Roger Ashby, everybody.
Unless you have to go. I understand if you have to go to work or something. It is 9:06. I want to first of all thank my wife, Moira. We've been together for almost all of these 50 years, and I wouldn't be who I am if I wasn't for her. She's helped me to grow up, although she would say that's still a work in progress. She's a AAA type personality, which if you know her, you already knew that. Organized, logical, wonderful hostess, great cook, and she likes to party. I think it was Marilyn who first called her Moira Poppins. And Mary Poppins is described as a person who brings a unique brand of lifestyle to improve a family's dynamic. I think that's very fitting for my wife, Moira. Your strict regimen has kept us both healthy over the years. She did say, however, that if I retired, she would have to kill me. And she was talking to someone about that earlier this morning. She was telling me, and a good friend of ours, John, and she said, because if he was, he'd have to come to me to hire the hitman because I look after his life. Now, I told the story earlier. I've told it many times about how my dad built me a little radio station in the basement, and I practiced down there for years before I got my first part-time job. My mom and dad are gone now, but Moira has always listened and would call or email me while I was on the air to correct something I said. And if that didn't work, she would call Marilyn directly. And then there is all of you, those of you in the room here today, those of you who are wherever you may be listening, for the various reasons you turn the radio on every day. I've heard from so many of you over the years, and especially these last few weeks, such flattering things you've said. And knowing that you're out there is very gratifying. I'm not really sure what I've done to deserve all this recognition. I've just come in every day and done something that I enjoy doing, and I'm so glad you enjoyed listening to it, but I'm deeply flattered by it all. My father, who built that station and wired up the speakers, wouldn't know what to make of it. And neither would my mother, who would wonder, who are all these people? And who's paying for this? And as a matter of fact, I'm wondering that myself. Now, my career at CHUM started after I spent a year at CKOC in Hamilton working with people like Nevin Grant and Dave Charles. A close friend of mine from high school, Rick Murray, I don't think Rick's here today, he lives in Florida, who himself would go on to be on the air, secured a position at CHUM as a board operator. And when J. Robert Wood, who was here, it was nice to see you this morning, Bob, when Bob was looking for someone to do the overnight shift, Rick suggested to Bob that he listen to me in Hamilton, and I was offered the job. And it was such a thrill for me to be hired at the radio station I had listened to growing up. And now I'm working with some of the people I had listened to when I was much younger, people like Jay Nelson, Bob Lane, so many great people. And with the knowledge that I gained from Bob, because he taught me everything I know, I still practice it on the air every day. I and Marilyn were able to train subsequent program directors based on the knowledge that I had gotten from Bob. So, seriously though, I've worked for many great bosses. Jim Waters is here today, of the wonderful Waters family who started this radio empire. Ross Davies and Duff Roman, both here this morning, who brought me over to CHUM-FM. Brad Phillips, who's here. Brad's out west now, but he came in this morning. Brad understands the minutia of all the little things that we say on the radio. I love that. Rob Farina, currently with Bell Media, and who, along with Randy Lennox, will be instrumental in my future with the company. David Corey. David's here. David worked with us for 10 years as our program director. He works in Boston now. And our current program director, who you met, Sarah Cummings. All of them great radio people, and Sarah will lead CHUM 104.5 into the future. I can't forget the dozens of great minds behind the scenes, and I can't start to mention names because I'll forget some, but all the people who work behind the scenes who you don't know about, and people who keep the radio station on the air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It really is a team effort. It's not just those voices you hear on the air. Larry McInnes, who was up here earlier, I wanted to make sure I acknowledge Larry because we had so much fun. Larry's such a great writer. A major part of our morning show, and Larry continues to be a great friend of mine. Another key person is Tom Jokic, and we've talked about Tom this morning, 32 years. He celebrated his 32nd anniversary just last week. Tom brings great energy to the room. If you've ever seen him on stage as a DJ, you'll know that he's a manic little character. But he's a ball of fire, and you know, you need somebody like that in your studio to keep things up and going all the time. And he's often been the voice of reason, and I think you will continue to be during debates and discussions we have in the room. Tom was always the voice of reason. I'm so happy that Rick Hodge was here this morning. He's probably gone back to bed. Rick was already a CHUM-FM veteran by the time I got there. After Rick came Darren B. Lamb, and now our latest on-air member, Jamar McNeil, who is a rising talent. He's been in the business for a long time. He ran a very successful morning show in Chicago. He's going to lead the radio station into the future. Yeah. Caitlin Green. You know, it's been so good to have you here. You're a little bit younger than me. And it's great to have your perspective on the show, and it will continue to be that way. And you are, as I said, a very smart, and you're on top of what's going on, the zeitgeist, as it were. I started by mentioning how important my wife is in my personal and professional life, and now I have to turn my attention to my work wife, or I should have that I never had. After auditioning dozens of women, I've told this story, to join us on the show, all of them who turned out not to be suitable, along came Marilyn, and I knew instantly when we sat down. I could point to the studio, if it was still there, they've torn it down. I could point to the studio where we sat. Zeke was our producer at the time. Zeke was looking at me, I was looking at him, we're kind of nodding our head. Marilyn and I are going back and forth on things, and I knew, and I couldn't wait to get out of there and go to tell Ross Davies, our then program director, that she's the one. We have to hire this person. And we did, in July of 86, right? Is that when you started? July 2nd of 1986, the day after your birthday.
After my 28th birthday.
After your 28th birthday, oh my goodness. You know, we're very different people. But there's well, we are. We're very, the word is disparate, right? We all are very different people, but there's an undefined chemistry that united us and continues to this day. I don't think either one of us really thought we were going to last 32 years together, and you don't count the years really as they go by, they just kind of add up and they end with this. So, whether we were talking about the weather, tragedies, as you were saying, or just silly topics, the conversation just seemed to happen and seemed to work. Marilyn is simply the best co-host that anybody could ever want to have. Jamar, you're very lucky. And it's not surprising that Marilyn has inspired hundreds of other women to get into this business. People who I'm sure listened to Marilyn when they were growing up, and now some of them work for us. And apparently she has a TV show. I'm going to have to check that out. So, you know, you've done well, Marilyn. Marilyn's son, Adam, has followed in his mother's footsteps, an accomplished broadcaster in his own right. And my son, Reagan, who was in radio for a period of time when he was younger, has now firmly established himself in the cannabis industry. So I think he made the right decision. Now, I want to thank the people who put this together. You know, they've been having meetings behind my back for weeks now with the surprises like the Rhea May and the Arkells who were out here today, and all the guests that we had. This has been a big production. I appreciate all the effort. So I've got to again thank Tom and Dwayne Reed from our promotions department, Sarah Cummings, our program director, Mike Ockamore. Mike's been very instrumental. Thank you, Mike, and everybody else who had a hand in what went on today. In the new year, you will hear me on Bell Media stations and iHeartRadio. Randy Lennox confirmed that. He said it. It's been recorded, so it has to happen. So I look forward to speaking with you all again in the new year. So until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Roger Ashby. We love you. Roger Ashby, everybody.
For the last time, I'll say, here's Richie Favalero.
CHUM Toronto, an iHeart radio station.
And with that, Roger Ashby has left the building. Although he's in a different building right now, I think it still kind of fits. So congratulations once again. It's been an honor the past 12 years working alongside you, Roger. What do you say, everybody? We raise a glass.